one more time. Another destiny. Who am I? Who am I? I'm Avi Goren Bar of the Jungian Coaching School. I'm in a good mood because yesterday night I got my second injection, vaccinized against the corona. And this scar is because I was cutting my roses in the garden. Never promised me a rose garden. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 people, we want 40. So we are optimistic. Danny is near me, and when Danny is around, hello, Danny. When Danny is around, I'm optimistic. Do I have fever? No. Am I a bit cold? Yes. Will I be warm? Yes. Why? Because I'm energetic. So we will be starting in few minutes, but the topic today is in Jungian coaching, what decision making has to do with conscious and unconscious. And of course, I will define what is conscious in Jungian coaching, what is unconscious in Jungian coaching, how the ego, functioning ego, relates to consciousness, how the self relates to unconsciousness. But mostly, we will come up with questions such as: my business was closed due to the corona. What shall I do? How do I make a decision? I lost my job. What do I do next? How do I arrive to decision? Do I go on with this relationship? Here, I will tell you about an experience of mine that I dealt with my unconscious about such a decision. Shall I stay abroad or return to my homeland? You know, they closed the airport in Israel, and who knows when they will open it. So people had to decide, should they come repatriate themselves or stay abroad. But I know that people from Turkey are uh, facing the same dilemma. Should they come from England back to Turkey or stay? So this is also a dilemma that people are preoccupied with. Or should I vaccinate myself or stay careful and wait to see whether people have tails or maybe horns? So other questions will come from you guys. You will ask questions and we will deal with this issue, conscious and unconscious in decision making. My clock says it's 8 o'clock and we have 13 people. Hello, Danny. Shall I start with the lecture? Yeah, and people will join on. Okay. Very good in winter. Chai. So, as I said, people are facing daily dilemmas that they have to decide. Some are existential dilemmas, and some are daily questions that they have to arrive to a conclusion or decision. And what most people, normal people, do, including me, is they look at their life experience and they try to sort out from their previous experience what decision they will make, or they nominate clever friends that they consider as sages, as wise people to consult with. So my daughter, for example, she makes a decision, and after she decides, she calls her papa, dad, what is your opinion, blah blah blah. Or myself, I take a decision, and nevertheless, I like to call one or two friends, ask what would you do instead of me, and then see. If my decision fits their decision, it's a win-win. I go for it. If the opinion is opposing mine, I get in trouble. So decision making is about start dialoguing with your unconscious. Now, in order for us to be on the same level of understanding, we need to define what is conscious and what is unconscious in coaching or in Jungian coaching. Because, as you know, I am taking clinical concepts from the theory of Carl Gustav Jung and I apply it to coaching. So, it's very important that we have common understanding of the basic concepts. But before we go on, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have to decide about something that is really crucial, write to me here and now in Greek, τώρα και εδώ, in Turkish, burada ve şimdi. Okay? Here and now, write me dilemmas or problems that you need to make a decision about, and we will practice it on the axis. Here I tell you another concept about the axis of the conscious and unconsciousness. Now, in my book, this is my book, it will be published soon. They are revising it. We have chapter 15, the ego, conscious, and the self unconsciousness. And I want to read to you. The ego, which is the coach's acts, whatever your coachee does, belongs to the ego. All what your coachee is doing belongs to the ego. The conscious level, what the coachee knows, and the self, the coachee's internal knowledge, spirituality, and hidden assets, and the coachee's unconscious, which is part of the coachee's psyche, which are hidden, not available, conceive in Jungian coaching the whole coachee's personality. So when I have a coachee coming to my office, or nowadays consuming a coaching session online, and I hear the dilemma or the story or the problem, I understand that what I get is a delivery from the conscious level, from what the client knows. Is this the whole reality? Yok, ohi, no, ne, no. It's only partial. Another knowledge, another wisdom, another relevant information is hiding in the unconscious. And the Jungian coach has the technique to connect the client to the unconscious to get extra information that will make the whole change in the process of decision making. Let's bear in mind that this fraction always of consciousness and unconsciousness. Okay, so reality is not what it is reported or seen or perceived. Reality is what is overt and what is hidden. So, under the concept of consciousness, in the center of our conscious mind stands the hero, who is the ego. In Jungian coaching, the ego is not egomaniac or ego inflated, is the person's acts, what the person knows. And the unconscious, as Stein says, is all what we don't know. Jung says that we know 20% and 80% stays in our unconscious. So we are really naive and sometimes stupid because we think that what we understand and know and we control is the whole picture, but it's only 20%. How do we excavate? How do we dive into the unconscious? So, just to give you some mental functions of consciousness, the ability to analyze, the ability to remember, the ability to differentiate, the ability to integrate data, all our emotional feelings life, to relate cognitively, to calculate, it's all belonging to conscious level. Primary conscious functions that are described by Kast, who is a Jungian famous analyst: sensation, thought, attention, ability to perceive, the capacity to remember, the formation of concepts, orientation in time and space, motor function, all our defense mechanisms. So you might tell me, if we have such a huge repertoire of skills and abilities to make a decision, What do we need? The irrational self, the irrational unconscious. What do we need? Fantasy, imagination, playfulness, spirituality, esoteric ideas, art to apply into our decision making processes. Of course, those of you who are thinking sensational, according to the MBTI, you will find it weird. But those who are intuitive feelers, they will embrace my lecture because those intuitive feelers use in their decision making processes information that is irrational coming from their imagination, but those people are the spices of our environment. So, what is characteristic of the unconscious? What is characteristic of the unconscious is, first of all, it's irrational. It's not logic. Nazdarovi. It brings images. It brings images that are very often weird. It brings desires that come up by instinct. This is very important. The unconscious is instinctual. What does it mean, instinctual? That you didn't think about it. It comes like you are hungry. It comes up like you are horny. It comes up like you make irrational decisions when you are angry or tired. This kind of data that is bursting out like popcorn into the conscious level and needs to be digested, assimilated, and interpreted. So this is quite a challenge. And this is the reason why most people ignore this immense reservoir of information while they need to make decisions. What are the symbols of the unconscious? First of all, in the center of the unconscious lies the archetype of the self. Jung says that the self to the ego is like God to man. So there is something inside us that knows what's best for us. But we do not connect to the self. We prefer to connect to the self of our best friend, to the self of our partner, to the self of our ancestors, tradition, or religion. We do not relate to the God inside us, which is a very specific God built in within our DNA and our personality. So the self has also symbols. It can be an egg because of perfection and the potential to grow. It can be gold because gold is the superior metal. It can be the wise old woman or man. It can be Jesus or Buddha or Moses that are collective unconscious wise figures. It can be any symmetrical graphical sign like mandala that is showing us symmetry and perfection. It can be a treasure because treasure is power for advancement. It can be a very peculiar or powerful transformation vehicle, like a rocket, like a camel, like ship, like airplane, like Ferrari, that will take you from one place to another place. These are the symbols of the self, and these are the symbols of the unconscious. Danny, do we have any questions that people are posing to?
Just saying hello.
So, just
Just
saying
saying hello
hello.
and hi, Avi, and nice
Just
to see
saying
you.
hello. Maybe you want me to.
Give them a hard question
No,
to
I
answer.
will not give you a hard question. I will give you a crazy story from uh, recently. So, I came to a good friend of mine and I came up with a question. Do I have to go on with my intention for certain intimate relationship that I am dying to have, but I'm not sure I should? And this friend of mine surprisingly said to me, how about opening these cards? The tarot. We have an Israeli Jungian analyst, a wise woman, Ruth Nether, who published a whole big book of analysis of the cards of the tarot. But because I'm a Jungian coach, I did the job myself. Thereafter, we double checked uh, with the Ruth Netzer's interpretation. And the question was, um, what shall I do? What should I do with this relationship? And the first card that I picked up was this one. Now, not only that I took it seriously, that this picture, this vision, this visual is a representative of my unconscious. And not only that did I analyze it in details to see what it means in my relationship here and now, I only challenged myself also to talk with this guy. As you see, he is with his back to me. Not only is with his back to me, his neck is bended. And when your neck is bended inwards, it's a body position of depression. Look at the Melancholia Nocturna, the sculpture of Michelangelo on the Sistine church in Rome. There is a woman sitting there naked, and her hand is posed like this. She is closed in the circle of the melancholy of the night. When you come to a really clinical depressed person, you say, let's go out, have a fresh air. No, 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 no. Have a glass of milk. No, the milk is black. He's negating everything and he's closed in his capsule. The guy is closed in his capsule. 3 cups are splashed. You see some blood and waste. In the back, there are 2 cups that are still with their potential. They are erected. And relating to my question about relationship, look at this island. There is a beautiful, lovely country house on the island with trees just similar to my house. And there is a bridge that can take this guy to his destination. But voila, with such position of mood, when your coat is so heavy and you see the rigidity. So what is closing me so tight, not even to see that there is an option to pass the bridge? This is what I mean, start dialoguing with your unconscious. Now, let me give you a tip, and this is a very wise tip coming from 40 years of experience. When you start dialoguing with your unconscious, you will not get immediately a solution to your decision making, but you will start a process. And you cannot arrive to a decision unless you process. So my friend said, pick another card. And I picked this card. Now, as you notice, I am a man. So this is my feminine side in the unconscious. It's called anima. This is my anima. You see, first of all, that she is seated, not a wonderful position to act, passive. But her eyes are blind. There is a ribbon that is closing her eyes. Yes, she is dressed in white, purity, innocence. She is innocent. She sits on a marmor bench. However, her back is to this unconscious. The water, the sea is the unconscious. She also negates the water. She negates the water and he negates the water. There is here landscape and there is here landscape. There is future, but she is sitting stubborn with these two swords. You see the feminine a symbol of the moon. Why feminine? Because the moon is circulating like menstruation, like the period of the woman. The anima belongs to the evening and the night, but the swords, she is defensive. This is not a position to start intimate relationship. Then I was not in good shape when I saw these two cards. And my friend said, pick the third. And when I picked the third, this is what I got. The knight with the swords. In the second card and in the third card, the sword. Sword symbolically enables you to analyze, to cut the bullshit from the main. But a sword is also a killer, let's admit it. First, I have to deal with my anger. Still, I need to deal with my anger. What is the positive side that I can decipher from my unconscious? Look at the energy. Look at the energy. No one can stop him. So, whom am I going to fight with my energy? Not the external ladies. The depressive position and the restricted anima. So if you are dealing with this daily question, do I go on with this relationship? I gave you an illustration how deep we can go. I knew that the moment I will expose myself, there will be a courageous person, and there is a question on the way. So, yes, whenever we want to embrace the unconscious as a reservoir of information to expand our point of view towards decision making, we have to agree for two conditions. If you don't accept these two conditions, don't dive. One, give up your control, because what the unconscious brings to you is not planned. Two, try, and this is very important, try to apply, to embrace seriously the information from the unconscious. By the way, those who take seriously unconscious material and search how to apply it to life are called in Jungian psychology heroes. Okay, Danny, you show me the question. Okay, I have my followers. I embrace you. My followers, one follower is from Hungary and she says, should the coach be radical or rather soft with pushing the coachee to dive into unconscious, supposing it is corporate environment? I will not. Should I? Yeah. Okay. So this is dear Judith Harigat, who is going to be an assistant in the international coaching school online. And this reminds me to tell you guys that we are still absorbing with a lot of love and enthusiasm starting the second 10, the class for international coaching, online Jungian coaching, starting February 12th. The hours are in the evening because we are scheduling with the Pacific time zone, and school will be between 5 p.m. to 17 to 23 p.m. 17 till 23 p.m. with four breaks, assistants, and myself, very vigorous and enthusiastic. So, to your question, Judith, let me tell you a story. Right after I divorced, I was in bad mood, and my son said to me, "Let's go to Sinai Desert and take a diving course." So it was December, cold. I was the only student in the PADI school for diving, and I had a French coach. And okay, we take all the equipment, and I go into the water, and the water arrives up to here. And he says to me, "Throw the belt with the weights on the floor, and you will take a deep breath of air, and you will dive. Put the belt on your back, tie it, and come up." I do it. After no air, I jump out. He stands still and he says to me in French, English, you do this again now. I do it again. You do this again now. On the third time, I said to myself, he is responsible on my life. I don't go out if I don't put this belt on my back. And so it was. So this story wants to tell you that you, as a coach, don't give up. You do this again now, and again now, and again now. And because you're a very beautiful and lovely woman, you do it with a smile. However, we have tools to stimulate the client to learn how to dive. You can play a game with the client, say, if I was a magician and I turned you into an animal, what animal you would be? What food you would be? What season of the year you would be? And by playing with the client's imagination, you do a little foreplay for him. You can serve with the archetype cards, and then the client, when he is involved in choosing the image, he will show curiosity. But I think that the crucial point is what I lectured now. We do not believe that there is life, conscious mind, without unconsciousness. And this has to be understood by the coach, not by the coachee. You are selling the market, the product, and you believe that the product is double layer what the client knows and what the client is reluctant to know. As you learn, there is unconscious also to the corporation. And as a Jungian coach, when you are invited to consult or coach in corporation, I am sure that immediately you will sense and realize the shadow of the corporation, the limitation, the drawbacks, the faults, where the corporation goes blindly, etc. So it's a matter of learning a language. The unconscious is about learning the language. Now, Danica also asked the question, and with all the respect, can we get the cards and the explanation? No, you can't. I mean, you can buy those on you can buy the tarot cards online, and I can send you the details, and you can try to find maybe online, but the Hebrew book was unfortunately not translated into English. If we don't get more questions, there are a lot of people online. Don't be afraid. It can be anonymous. If you write the question and you write anonymous or please don't mention, then you send it to Danny.
Yes, I put my mail.
He put his mail,
No, to me, it's in
so
my mail. Facebook.
Danny put his Facebook address, so you can direct questions to him or to me. And meanwhile, I want to deal with those dilemmas that I posed in the beginning of this evening meeting. I said, how would you process the unconscious with a question like, my business was closed due to the corona, or I lost my job? Or a question, shall I stay abroad or return home? Or shall I vaccine myself or wait, stay careful, and see how things go on? These existential questions are not objective, they are subjective. It's like people use different spices, different accessories, different garments. Our final choice is not made rationally. When four people go to buy an apartment, if the person is a thinker, he makes the calculation. If he's a sensator from senses, he's checking the material and the position of the building. If he is a feeling oriented, he evaluates how does it feel for him. But mostly if he's intuitive, he can decide if this apartment fits him in 60 seconds. He just simply says to his partner, I will not live here. And when you ask for explanation, the intuitive person says, don't know. I have a bad feeling about it. So the unconscious is really influencing most of our decision making. Guys, we had two Israelis, genius psychologists in the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Kahneman, Daniel Kahneman, and Tversky. They got Nobel Prize. And they got Nobel Prize. One of them died. I don't want to be mistaken. One of them unfortunately died. They got their Nobel Prize because they proved that the human beings are irrational creatures. That wars were decided by irrational argumentations. Who am I to tell you? Don't you see that our governments and leaders in this crazy, peculiar corona do not make logical decisions? They have other considerations. However, if you analyze the unconscious, you will get argumentations that will challenge you. So let's take this first one. My business was closed. One option that the unconscious will tell you, paradoxically, is do nothing. We call it in the Jungian coaching a state in the hero quest of the belly of the whale. Let yourself not do. It doesn't mean that you have to sit home depressed. You can work as a taxi driver, you can work in your garden, you can help a friend, you can work 1 day per 1 day salary. But you can decide that for quite a period of time, you will reflect and look at your life and at the same time sort out what are your talents that you never ever used. Same with you lost your job. Some money you get from the governments and some you can do by connecting to your hobbies, connecting to what you used to do in the marginal, shift it to the center. Ask yourself a question. What shall I do now that I lost my job? And you absolutely don't need the tarot cards. Simply open journals and pick up 5 pictures. There, in the pictures that you picked up fast, not slowly, because the unconscious works as instinct, as I told you. So fast, choose 5 pictures and ask how these pictures relate to my question. And as I demonstrated with these 3 cards, look at every detail, because unlike conscious level, the unconscious attributes very, very crucial information condensed in little details. Fairy tales and stories know this wisdom. And it's always the little child that shouts that the king is naked. It's always the stupid, the retarded, that is bringing victory. It's the little child that put his thumb into the wall in Netherlands and prevented the flood. What is this little child? What is this retarded? What is this marginal information that is hidden in the picture, in the drawing, in the card, in your dream? It is a condensed wisdom that is given to us modestly. And the more we decipher, analyze, and talk to this part, we are granted with precious information. I really like what I'm sharing with you, not because it's superstitious and mysterious. Believe me, I'm a very practical guy because I see it's very, very practical. I love telling this story about, always a question is before my stories. So there is another, I should stay in my apartment or move out. Is that the big enough dilemma? Sure, this is a good dilemma. Should I stay in my apartment or move out? Hold on a second. I need to take my chai in order to know whether you should stay in your apartment or move out. On the conscious level, you need to analyze what this apartment symbolizes to you, means to you. You see, I'm not asking you about financial consideration. Maybe you can sell it or rent it and make good money. This is conscious level. For this, you don't need Jungian coaching. But when I ask you this apartment, what does it symbolize to you? If you say, my divorce, if you say a golden prison, if you say comfort zone, then the next question would be, does this symbol serve you here and now? Sometimes changing environment is not healthy because you are changing the external reality. Sometimes changing environment onsets, stimulates hidden assets, your sense of aesthetics, your need to recommunicate with people, your spatial orientation, your choosing of furnitures and facilities. Any innovation is not ending only with the object. Any innovation has to do with shaking the routine. And when you shaken the routine, unconscious material bursts out. So this is the process you have to go. You have to see what are the symbols. By the same token, what is the alternative? The alternative is this and that and that. Okay. Always the question, what does it symbolize for you? What it symbolizes for you will bring, this is a question that goes towards the unconscious. I was going to tell you a story, but I don't think I remember that story. Tip of the tongue. Never mind. I'll come up with the next question. Do we have another question? No. There is a comment. Yeah, I don't know this guy. Hello, Bostian. Bostian. Unconscious mind is like hard drive, where the programs, beliefs, paradigms are saved. You don't mean hard drive. You mean on the computer hard disk. Unconscious mind is like a hard disk where the programs, beliefs, paradigms are saved. I agree. If you know this, then you can start making changes to oneself and start seeing the things you didn't see before. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the main break between Jung and Freud, because Freud saw the unconscious as a garage of repressed childhood and past contents. They save the ego function on the price, the expense of neurosis. And Jung said, I agree. Nevertheless, this is a very restricted point of view. And he, by connecting and realizing the archetypes, discovered the immense potential of creativity that the unconscious is offering us. Should I vaccine myself or stay careful and wait? I love this question because friends around me are all very much preoccupied with this question. And it's very interesting how by the end of the day, people try to stick to their individualism, but the propaganda and the social media press on them and press on them, and eventually they convince themselves, not through an internal process of a dialogue, but through a pressure that is imposed on them by their beloved. So once again, when we ask about our body, the body knows. The body has wisdom. This morning, after I got the shot of the second vaccine yesterday evening, I decided don't pretend sick because you're not. Let's walk with the dog in the forest. And I was walking in the forest and I walked with the same rhythm, with the same heart uh, beats that I'm used to. And I was listening to my body. And guess what? I sensed a very strong sense of intimacy. I was surprised. How come I went to the forest for sportive activity, aerodynamic activity? And I became very, very romantic and sentimental. And suddenly I heard the birds and the little river. And obviously there was a harmony between my body and nature. So, about figure and ground, the vaccine became marginal, secondary, not important. The quality of life is my vaccine, not the injection. So, what do I tell you? I tell you that in such a dilemma, the unconscious can give you an added value of information that will add to your decision. But you can buy the same piece of meat. If you cook it with paprika, it turns into goulash. If you cook it with curry, it turns into a Thai food. So the unconscious is the spices that you enable yourself to install into the process of decision making. If you read the Holy Bible, it just occurred to me now. Leaders in the Holy Bible needed to take decisions. Moses had to lead the people of Israel who were slaves out of Egypt land in a rush, in the middle of the night, before the pharaohs discover, smuggle out of Egypt land. Joshua needs to make a decision to conquer the land. David needs to make a decision, should he kill or not kill his son, who runs away and rebels against him. In all the decision making, Noah with the um, with the with the nave, how do you say, with the barca, with the all these decision makings, crucial, took God's wisdom under consideration. And God is the irrational, is the irrational. Another comment. No. What is the story I wanted to tell you to illustrate something? When I was married, we arrived to the point when we had to decide whether we want to build a private house with a garden, or should we buy a penthouse on the fourth floor with a big roof and create a garden on the roof. At that time, my only sister was fighting cancer. She was 37. She died 38. And I understood that we need to live near my parents because the trauma would be horrible. And I didn't know to make a decision. Should we invest in building a house in a nearby town? And actually, we had friends that we wanted to share a terrain with them. Or should we buy a duplex that was in between my parents' house and my sister's house, which was a very beautiful 7-room apartment, and we had to make a decision. And guess what? I was in Jungian analysis and I had a dream. And in my dream, I'm walking along the shores of the land of Israel, Mediterranean, walking along the shore. And at that time, and I think that was 30 something years ago, men used to have a wallet, big wallet, like a bag. And in my dream, I'm losing my bag. And there is an old boat, old rusted boat. And when I go up on the boat, my wallet is on the shore. And when I step on the shore, my wallet is on the ship, old ship. And I woke up and I brought it to my Jungian analyst. She asks me, what is this ship? Because the ship is weird in the dream. I said my father immigrated to Israel from Poland in 1939 in illegal immigration, where the British mandate forbidden Jews to come, and Jews were rescuing themselves. And he came on such a boat, they had to jump into the water and swim to the shore. So it's about emergency rescuing, a symbol that comes from my collective unconscious, from the destiny of the Jews that immigrated and created the state of Israel before 1948. My father came in 1939. All his family was exterminated in the Ukraine by the Nazi. So I understand that this boat is following me with destiny, that I need to take a very, very important decision. What is my wallet? She asked. I said, this is me, my identity. My credit cards, my ID, my driving license, everything is there. This is me, my ego. Where do you feel more safe? On the boat or on the land? She asked. I said, definitely on the land. Where do you feel unsafe? On the boat. Talk to the boat. I say, boat, what can you contribute to my decision? She says, I'm connected to your father. My father died a year later because his heart was broken, because his daughter, who was named after his mother's death in the Holocaust, passed away. He joined her a year later. The boat says to me, I am representing your father. Ask your father what he would have preferred. Although I felt more safe on the land to build a house with a garden, I went to my father and said, Papa, where should we? He said, come live near us. And he knew that a year later he would pass away. We lived many years in this beautiful house that when I sold it later enabled me to buy a house with a garden in another period of my time. Irrational arguments taken seriously into the decision making process. Ladies and gentlemen, since you know how to decide for yourselves, maybe you will adopt my humble. I'm a rational person. I read a lot, as you see in the background. Nevertheless, when you have to decide, do something that will contribute to your decision making, information that is taken from the unconscious. It's always with you, the unconscious. One more time, our train for the Jungian coaching online program starts February 12th. You can sign up to become a Jungian coach on our site. I'd be delighted to embrace and have you, share with you my knowledge with a wonderful program that is structured with assistance. People get the Jungian coaching kit to their home by mail. People get the brochures online to their mail. And thank you for joining. Thanks for being so faithful. 40 people are right now from the first moment. I'm so grateful to you, humbly. Appreciate it very much. Shalom. And next Monday, follow us because we will be there till the program starts with the assistantship of Danny, who is giving me fresh oxygen. לילה טוב, קליניכטה, yak shamlar, lakonoch. Bye bye.